Number 1. The island that shouldn't exist. Somewhere in the Caribbean Sea, rising straight out of the ocean like a clenched fist, there is a rock so steep, so vertical, so impossibly small, that for 400 years, engineers said you could never build an airport on it. You could never build a road on it. You could never build a town on it. They were wrong about all three. Welcome to Saba, a 5-square-mile volcanic peak jutting 1,300 feet out of the water, home to exactly 2,000 human beings who wake up every morning inside the crater of a dormant volcano and somehow live one of the quietest, safest, most affordable lives anywhere in the Western Hemisphere. This island has no beaches, no flat land, no traffic lights, no fast food chains, no crime to speak of. The entire economy runs on a single road that one man spent 20 years building by hand when the Dutch government told him it was impossible. The airport runway is 400 meters long, the shortest commercial runway on planet Earth, flanked by cliffs on both sides that drop straight into the sea. And yet, people stay, people move here, people raise families, open businesses, grow old on a rock most humans will never see on a map. How do 2,000 people build a life on a volcano with no flat ground, no beach, and one road? That is exactly what we are about to find out. Before we continue, if this kind of content interests you, exploring how people live in the most unusual and affordable corners of the world, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I cover places like this every single week, and trust me, you do not want to miss what is coming next. Number 2. How a single road changed everything. For centuries, Saba had no road at all. The island is essentially a volcanic cone, and every settlement sits at a different altitude, connected only by stone steps carved into the mountainside. 800 steps from the harbor to the first village. Donkeys carried supplies. People carried everything else on their backs. Women climbed those steps with baskets of fish balanced on their heads. Children climbed them barefoot to reach school every morning. Elderly residents who could no longer make the climb were essentially trapped in their villages. In 1938, a local man named Josephus Lambert Hassel decided this was unacceptable. He had no engineering degree, no heavy machinery, no government funding. What he had was a correspondence course in civil engineering, completed by mail. He studied road construction through letters sent back and forth across the Atlantic, learning gradient calculations from textbooks delivered by boat. The Dutch colonial administration told him flatly that a road on Saba was a physical impossibility. Hassel ignored them. He started building, by hand, with local laborers, pick by pick, stone by stone, blast by blast. It took 20 years. 20 years of chipping through volcanic rock with hand tools, laying switchbacks so tight that a single car can barely navigate them. When the rain came, sections washed away. When the money ran out, work stopped for months. But Hassel kept going. In 1958, the first car drove on Saba. The road stretches 9 kilometers from Fort Bay at sea level to the village of Windward Side at 500 meters elevation. It is called, simply, the road. Capital T, capital R, because there is only one. Today, the road is the circulatory system of Saba. Every person, every package, every piece of food travels along this single ribbon of concrete. If the road closes due to a rock slide, the island stops. There is no alternative route. There is no detour. Locals have memorized every curve, every blind corner, every spot where falling rocks are most likely after heavy rain. And at the very bottom of the road, carved into the only flat spot anyone could find, sits something even more improbable. Number 3. The runway where pilots earn their reputation. Juancho E. Yrausquin Airport. 400 meters of flat concrete wedged between two cliff faces that drop straight into the ocean on both ends. No go-arounds, no second chances. Pilots who land here are among the most skilled commercial aviators in the Caribbean. The runway is so short that no jet aircraft can land here. No turboprop, larger than 19 seats, can attempt the approach. The runway was completed in 1963. Before that, the only way to reach Saba was by boat, which meant climbing those 800 stone steps from the harbor while the Atlantic swell crashed against the rocks below. Only one airline operates here. Winair flies small twin-engine planes, usually the de Havilland Twin Otter, carrying between 9 and 19 passengers per flight. The approach is visual only, no instrument landing system. The pilot looks out the window, judges the wind, and commits. If the crosswind exceeds certain limits, the flight simply does not happen. Passengers wait, sometimes for hours, sometimes until the next day. Tourists sometimes film the approach with shaking hands. For locals, it is Tuesday. They board the plane in flip-flops, chat with the pilot by first name, and step off onto the shortest runway in the world, like they are walking into their living room. Flights cost between $70 and $120 one way from Sint Maarten. Most residents fly over for grocery runs or medical appointments. The flight takes 12 minutes. The wait at the airport takes longer than the flight itself. The terminal building is smaller than most people's houses. No shops, no restaurants, just a small room where you wait until the pilot says the wind is right. But here is the thing about Saba that surprises people most. Despite the logistical challenges of living on a volcanic rock with one road and one tiny runway, the cost of living is shockingly manageable. Number 4. What it actually costs to live on a 5-square-mile volcano. Saba is a special municipality of the Netherlands, which means the currency is the United States dollar. Government services, healthcare, and education follow Dutch standards. And yet, the cost of living sits well below what you would pay on neighboring islands like Sint Maarten or St. Barths. Rent is the first surprise. A one-bedroom apartment in Windward Side or the Bottom runs between $600 and $900 a month. A two-bedroom cottage with a Caribbean view goes for $1,200 to $1,500. Some long-term residents have negotiated even lower by renting directly from local families. Unlike many Caribbean islands, where foreign investors have driven prices through the roof, Saba's market remains anchored by the simple reality that only a very specific type of person wants to live here. Groceries cost more than the mainland. Everything arrives by boat or cargo plane. A gallon of milk runs about $6, a dozen eggs, $4. Fresh produce varies, depending on what the boat brought this week, but many residents grow their own vegetables. The volcanic soil is extraordinarily fertile, and at higher elevations, the temperature stays cool enough year-round to grow lettuce, tomatoes, peppers, herbs, and tropical fruit without much effort. Some residents keep small chicken coops for fresh eggs. Electricity runs 35 to 40 cents per kilowatt-hour, generated by diesel shipped in by sea. But homes are small, and air conditioning is unnecessary above 400 meters, where trade winds keep temperatures between 22 and 28 degrees Celsius year-round. Most households pay between $100 and $180 monthly for power. Water comes from rainwater cisterns built into every home. No water bill, the rain falls, the cistern fills, you filter it for drinking. Every house on Saba is built with a cistern underneath, a design requirement that has existed for centuries. Healthcare operates through the A.M. Edwards Medical Center, staffed by Dutch-trained physicians. Basic care is covered through the Dutch system for residents. Serious cases get airlifted to Sint Maarten. A single person can live comfortably on Saba for $1,500 to $2,000 a month. A couple, $2,200 to $2,800. Those are numbers that would get you a studio apartment in most American cities. And for that money, you get Caribbean weather, zero crime, clean air, community, and a pace of life that most people only experience on vacation. Number 5. the 4 villages built into the crater of a volcano. Saba has no city. It has 4 villages, each one carved into a different elevation of Mount Scenery, the volcano that forms the entire island. The bottom sits in a valley at roughly 250 meters above sea level. Despite the name, it is nestled in a sheltered depression surrounded by steep green walls. This is the administrative capital. The government building is here, the hospital is here, the courthouse, the post office, the only gas station. Population around 500. On a quiet afternoon, you can stand in the center of the bottom and hear nothing but roosters wind through the banana leaves and the distant sound of someone hammering on a roof. The houses are painted white with green shutters and red roofs, following Dutch colonial tradition. Gardens burst with bougainvillea, hibiscus, and banana trees. The air smells like rain and volcanic earth. Climb the road further and you reach Windward Side, the tourism hub at approximately 500 meters elevation. This is where the dive shops are, the handful of restaurants, the small hotels. The Saba Museum occupies a restored sea captain's house, telling the story of the island's maritime past, when Saban men sailed the world and Saban women ran the island alone for months. Above Windward Side, the trail to Mount Scenery begins. 1,064 stone steps climb through cloud forest to the summit at 877 meters, the highest point in the entire Kingdom of the Netherlands. The trail passes through 3 distinct ecological zones. You start in dry tropical forest, move through ferns and elephant ears, and emerge into true cloud forest, where trees drip with moss and orchids grow wild on every branch. The other 2 villages, Hell's Gate and Street Johns, are smaller, quieter, home to families who have lived on Saba for generations. Some surnames repeat across the island: Hassel, Johnson, Simmons, Peterson. In a community of 2,000, everyone knows everyone. Number 6. What people actually do for work on a rock with no industry. Saba has no manufacturing, no agriculture beyond personal gardens, no fisheries at scale, no corporate offices. So where does the money come from? First, government employment. As a special municipality of the Netherlands, Saba receives substantial funding from The Hague. Many residents work for the local government, the hospital, the school, the airport, or public works. Second, the Saba University School of Medicine. Founded in 1992, this small medical school attracts several hundred students from the United States and Canada who come for their basic science years. These students rent apartments, eat at restaurants, and pump consistent cash into the economy year-round. The medical school is the single largest private employer on the island. Third, dive tourism. The Saba Marine Park, established in 1987, protects the island's reefs and underwater pinnacles. Visibility regularly exceeds 30 meters. The diving is world-class, attracting travelers willing to endure logistical inconvenience for pristine underwater experiences. Fourth, remote workers. Since 2020, a growing number of digital professionals have discovered Saba. Freelancers, writers, programmers, and online business owners have settled here, drawn by the combination of Caribbean climate, Dutch infrastructure, and a community small enough to feel like family within weeks. Number 7. The island where crime does not exist. This is not an exaggeration. Saba has virtually zero crime. The island has a small police force, more for administrative purposes than actual law enforcement. There is no jail. If someone commits a serious offense, they are transported to Sint Maarten for prosecution. Doors go unlocked. Keys stay in car ignitions. Children walk between villages alone. Packages sit on porches for days. The pharmacy operates partly on the honor system. This is mathematics. 2,000 people on 5 square miles means everyone is visible to everyone else at all times. Anonymity, the prerequisite for most crime, simply does not exist. If you steal something, there is nowhere to hide it. If you harm someone, the entire island knows within the hour. Residents describe a phenomenon where the island self-regulates. Disputes are resolved through conversation and community pressure rather than formal legal proceedings. Elders mediate, neighbors intervene. Problems dissolve before they escalate. For people coming from high-crime cities, this single factor is often the reason they choose Saba over cheaper options elsewhere in the Caribbean. The psychological weight of constant vigilance lifts completely here. Residents describe feeling lighter within days of arriving, as if a tension they did not realize they were carrying has finally been set down. Number 8. The school system that sends kids to Europe for free. Education on Saba follows the Dutch system. The Sacred Heart School serves children from age 4 through secondary level. Class sizes are tiny, often fewer than 15 students per grade. After completing secondary education, students can apply to universities in the European Netherlands with full access to Dutch student financing. A kid growing up on a volcanic rock in the Caribbean can attend university in Amsterdam or Utrecht with government-subsidized tuition at the same rates as any Dutch citizen. Many do exactly that. They leave at 17 or 18, study in Europe for 4 to 6 years, and then face the decision that defines Saban life. Come back or stay away. Some return with degrees in medicine or education, filling critical roles on the island. Others build lives in the Netherlands. The population decline Saba has experienced is partly driven by this pipeline. The island educates its children well, gives them access to world-class universities, and then watches as many choose opportunities that a 5-square-mile rock cannot provide. Number 9. The volcano that everyone lives inside. Mount Scenery is not extinct. It is dormant. The last confirmed eruption occurred approximately 5,000 years ago, but geologists classify it as potentially active. Hot springs exist on the ocean floor around the island. 2,000 people live inside the crater of this volcano. They build homes on its slopes, grow gardens in its soil, collect rainwater that filters through its rock. The relationship between Sabans and their volcano is not one of fear, but of cohabitation. The mountain gives them fertile soil, cool temperatures, protection from hurricanes in its sheltered valleys, and the dramatic landscape that attracts tourists. Hurricanes are the more immediate natural threat. Hurricane Irma in 2017 caused significant damage to roofs and vegetation. The community rebuilt quickly, aided by Dutch disaster relief funds and neighbor helps neighbor solidarity. The volcanic soil deserves mention. At higher elevations, the cloud forest produces constant mist that keeps the ground perpetually moist. The soil is rich in minerals deposited over millennia. Residents who garden report almost supernatural fertility. Seeds sprout within days. Plants grow faster and larger than expected. Some families maintain kitchen gardens that supply most of their vegetable needs year-round, reducing grocery costs by 30 to 40%. Number 10. The underwater world that rivals the Galapagos. Below the waterline, Saba transforms. The same volcanic geology that creates the dramatic above-water landscape continues beneath the surface in equally spectacular fashion. The Saba Marine Park was one of the first marine protected areas in the Caribbean, established in 1987. It encompasses the entire coastline from the high water mark down to 60 meters depth. All fishing is regulated. Anchoring on coral is prohibited. Divers pay a small fee that funds park management. The result of nearly 4 decades of protection is an underwater ecosystem of staggering health. Pinnacles rise from deep water to within 20 meters of the surface, creating walls covered in sponges, gorgonian fans, and black coral. Reef sharks patrol the deeper sites. Sea turtles are common. Spotted eagle rays glide past divers in formation. The most famous dive sites have names locals have used for generations. Third encounter, Twilight Zone. The Eye of the Needle, Diamond Rock. Each offers visibility exceeding 30 meters and marine life density that biologists describe as exceptional for the modern Caribbean. For residents, the marine park is not just environmental, it is economic. Dive tourism brings 3,000 to 4,000 visitors per year. On an island of 2,000 people, each diver contributes directly to boat captains, dive masters, restaurant owners, and accommodation providers. Number 11. The community that runs on trust and barter. In a community of 2,000, formal and informal economy blur until you cannot tell where one ends and the other begins. A mechanic fixes your car and you bring him mangoes from your tree next week. A neighbor watches your house while you fly to Sint Maarten and you return with the coffee she cannot find on Saba. A retired Dutch couple helps a young family with tax paperwork and receives an invitation to every Sunday dinner for the next year. A fisherman shares his catch with 3 families on his street, and those families make sure his kids get rides to school when the rain is heavy. This is sophisticated social infrastructure that reduces living costs in ways no economic report captures. When your community is small enough that everyone's skills and needs are visible, formal markets become less necessary. New residents describe a period of adjustment. The first months, you are an outsider buying everything at market rate. After 6 months, you start receiving gifts of surplus produce from neighbors. After a year, you are integrated into networks of mutual aid that make the island feel like an extended family sharing a volcano. Number 12. The expat community that traded everything for silence. They come from New York, from London, from Amsterdam, retired teachers, burned-out executives, remote workers, fleeing modern noise. They arrive expecting to stay 3 months and find themselves still here 3 years later. What draws them is subtraction. No traffic noise, no crowds, no advertisements, no social pressure to consume or perform. The island offers the rarest luxury of the 21st century: permission to do nothing and feel no guilt. A former Wall Street analyst lives in Windward Side now, paying $800 a month for a cottage with a sea view. He writes in the morning, hikes in the afternoon, and is in bed by 9. His annual expenses on Saba are less than his former Manhattan rent alone. He told me he spent 15 years earning money he never had time to enjoy. A Dutch couple in their 60s sold their home in Utrecht, moved to the bottom, and opened a bakery operating 3 days a week. They make enough to cover expenses and spend 4 days gardening and swimming at the concrete pier in Fort Bay. A Canadian woman runs a copywriting business from her kitchen table in Hell's Gate. Her clients are in Toronto. Her body is on a volcano. She says the lack of distractions increased her productivity by 40%. She says the silence taught her how to think again. These stories repeat across the island. People trading income for time, status for peace, convenience for meaning. Saba attracts someone who has achieved enough to know that achievement alone does not satisfy. Number 13. The healthcare system that punches above its weight. The A.M. Edwards Medical Center is small but competent. 2 to 3 physicians staff the facility, supplemented by visiting specialists from Sint Maarten or the Netherlands. Routine care is handled on island. General practice, minor surgery, emergency stabilization, prenatal care, vaccinations, and pharmacy services are all available. Serious cases are evacuated by helicopter to Sint Maarten in under 20 minutes. Health insurance operates through the ZVK system, costing between $30 and $100 per month, depending on income. Coverage includes basic care, hospitalization, and medical evacuation. The lifestyle itself contributes to health. Residents walk constantly because the terrain demands it. Every trip to the shop involves climbing. The diet includes fresh fish and homegrown vegetables. Stress levels are lower. Air quality is pristine. The combination of physical terrain, simple diet, and strong social connections creates what researchers would call a naturally occurring blue zone. Number 14. The internet that connects a volcano to the global economy. For years, Saba's internet was barely functional. Satellite connections made video calls impossible. This kept remote workers away and isolated students from digital resources. That changed with submarine fiber optic cable. Today, Saba has broadband speeds rivaling mid-tier European cities, 50 to 100 megabits per second. Video conferencing works without interruption. This single upgrade transformed the island's economic potential. A location previously viable only for retirees became accessible to anyone whose income comes through a laptop. Remote workers discovered they could maintain American salaries while living at Caribbean costs on a Dutch-administered island with European social services. The combination of fast internet, low cost of living, zero crime, and extraordinary natural beauty creates a package few places on Earth can match. The island will never attract thousands of digital nomads. It physically cannot hold them, but even 50 additional remote workers represent meaningful economic boost for a community this small. Number 15. Why 2,000 people choose to stay. This is the question beneath everything else. Why stay on a rock with no beaches, no nightlife, and a 12-minute plane ride as your only connection to the outside world? Space. Not physical space, but mental space. The absence of noise, advertising, and social pressure creates room for thought and presence that residents describe as transformative. Safety. The total absence of crime changes how you move through the world. Women walk alone at any hour. Children roam freely. Doors stay open. Community. In a group of 2,000, you matter. Your absence is noticed. Your contributions are valued. Your struggles are supported. Nature. The cloud forest, the volcanic peaks, the underwater pinnacles, the Caribbean sunsets, the trade winds. These are not amenities. They are daily life. Affordability. A comfortable life for $1,500 to $2,000 a month. Dutch healthcare. Free university access for children. Minimal taxes. No commute costs. Purpose. On an island this small, every person fills multiple roles. You are never just a worker or consumer. You are a neighbor, a volunteer, a participant in something larger than yourself. That sense of being needed is what many people spend their entire urban lives searching for. Saba is not for everyone. It is too quiet for some, too small for others, too isolated for many. But for the specific person looking for a place where life costs less, moves slower, and means more, this 5-square-mile volcano might be exactly the answer they never knew existed. 2,000 people figured it out. They live on a rock with no beaches, one road, and the shortest runway in the world. And most of them will tell you they would not trade it for anywhere else on Earth. If this video changed how you think about what a good life actually costs, hit subscribe. Next week, I am covering another place where people have quietly built extraordinary lives on almost nothing. Drop a comment telling me where you are watching from and what surprised you most about Saba. I will see you in the next one.